Awesome. Well, great to have you all here for the Snorkl 101. This is a Google Meets live stream, and so it's your video is not on camera. It's just me here on the screen, but you do have an opportunity to ask questions. And so if you look in the bottom right-hand corner there's a little icon with the triangle, the square, and the circle. Some folks are already dropping some comments or introducing themselves there in the Q&A section. Go ahead and you can introduce yourself, and it's going to be a great place for you to ask questions throughout the call. We've got folks in this call who have used Snorkl a lot before. So I see some really familiar names. Great to have you here. And we've got folks on this call who have never used Snorkl before. And so I'm going to do my best to sort of cover the spread and make sure that I can speak to all the basics of what is Snorkl, how do you get started. I'll tell you a little bit about our story. And then I'm also going to try to throw in a couple of little Easter eggs for folks who have used Snorkl quite a bit before, so that you get a chance to learn something new, hopefully, here on the call. So if you haven't yet already, you can introduce yourself. It's that little circle, triangle, square in the bottom right corner, and then go to Q&A. My name is Jon. I'm one of the co-founders of Snorkl, and I'm really excited to get to share it with you today. My background is as a high school math teacher. I taught high school math both in Las Vegas and in Minneapolis, which is where I currently live. And then I was an instructional coach. And I met my co-founder, Jeff, about 10, 12 years ago in Las Vegas. He was a fifth grade teacher. And so we were both teaching at the time. And he, after a few years in the classroom, he took a different route. He went into technology and became an engineer, but he's always stayed really close to education. And I've stayed in the classroom for the last 10 years. I stayed in a high school math classroom and then was an instructional coach. Snorkl's origin came about 2.5 years ago. We were talking about some ideas where one of the things that we both love is hearing students thinking. We think that's powerful for students to explain their thinking. We think it's powerful for us as teachers to hear students thinking. And we saw actually during the pandemic, a lot of teachers were asking students to share and record and explain their thinking using tools like Screencastify, like Flip, and we thought that was really powerful. And so we started off with this premise of we were going to allow students to record and share their thinking, and then we were going to have their peers give them feedback, and we as teachers were going to give them feedback. The timing wise just happened to be really fortuitous that as we were experimenting with these tools and building things, we were talking to a lot of teachers, getting a lot of feedback, and AI tools were becoming really readily available. And we recognized there was a really unique opportunity to layer in a piece of automatic AI feedback on top of student thinking, give students deeper insights and some immediacy to that feedback that they get on their work. And then we also recognized what an opportunity that was for teachers who have, at the secondary level, maybe 120 students, to all of a sudden get some really great insight and information on how students are thinking. And so that's what Snorkl is today. It's a platform for students to share and record their thinking in response to a teacher's question or prompt. This can be in any subject area, and then get some really immediate personalized feedback from AI, and also give teachers really strong insights into how their students are thinking. We do this in all subject areas. We started actually specifically in math. My background is as a math teacher. Math is near and dear to my heart, but we really quickly found, it's actually really valuable to have students explain their thinking in all subject areas. And so Snorkl allows for that. Like I said before, we've got folks on this call who've used Snorkl a lot. Really great to have you here. We have other folks who've never used Snorkl before. So I'm going to try to speak to both sides of this and make sure we cover some of the basics, and then we'll jump in a little bit deeper. Our website is snorkl.app, and on Snorkl, you can go ahead and you can actually create a free teacher account right now. And if you want to, in this call, you can follow along with me. If you prefer just to watch it and learn and watch me do it, that's fine as well. And I'll try to keep moving at an appropriate pace to keep you with me. I want to show you first what is the student experience in Snorkl. I think this is such a powerful place to start. And then I'll show you more of that teacher side and how to get set up and get started. So when students open up a Snorkl assignment, this is what they see. They're brought to a question or a prompt from their teacher on this digital whiteboard, and they've got different tools to create a response. So students can draw, they can highlight, they can type out text, they can insert an equation, or they can upload an image of their work. And there's lots of different rich ways for them to capture their thinking. Really, at the heart of it, we want to go beyond students just giving answers, and we want to encourage our students to really explain and share their thinking. How is it that they're solving that math problem, or in a different subject area, how is it that they are thinking about what the author is saying in that story, or what they just talked about in social studies class, whatever the topic is. We want students to be able to express their thinking in a rich and natural way. And so when students are ready, they press this purple record button, and Snorkl begins capturing their voice, and it also captures what they're showing here on their screen. And so students can show and explain their thinking and actually tell how is it that they're solving this question or responding to that prompt from their teacher. So just a really quick example here, and if you've ever been on a call with me before, you've maybe even seen me do this problem before. But here it says we've got a rectangular frame whose length is 29 centimeters. So I'm going to label this side of the rectangle 29. I remember that the opposite side of a rectangle should be equal, so I'm going to label that side also 29. 29 plus 29 adds up to 58. And it says that the total perimeter is 146. So I'm going to do 146 minus 58, and what I get is 88. So I'm going to say that 88 centimeters is the width of this rectangle. Okay, obviously I got that wrong. I should have divided by 2 at the end, but this is the idea. Students record and actually explain their thinking out loud. Now, we capture both students' verbal explanations, but also what they're showing visually on the whiteboard. I'm going to talk more about that in just a moment, but it creates some versatility for how you have students respond, and both in the current version of what we've released, and we're also actually working on some new tools we're really excited to share with you all that are going to provide even more optionality around exactly what teachers want to do. So if you want just verbal responses, you'll have that option in the future. And if you want just visual responses, you'll have that option in the future. Right now it does both, and we put those both together intentionally. We think that's a really rich way to capture student thinking. And what that allows is for really great feedback from the AI. So I just submitted that video here. The AI has just analyzed it, and it tells me as the student 3 things. First, it tells me if I got it correct or incorrect. Second is it gives me a score on a 0 through 4 scale on how strong my explanation is. And then the third thing is I get 2 to 3 pieces of time-stamped feedback on my response. So you'll see here, I got this incorrect. Obviously, I should have divided by 2 at the end, but I didn't. I got a 2 out of 4 for my explanation. There were some great things happening in my explanation. And then I think this is one of the things that makes Snorkl so unique is we know that our students have great thoughts worth celebrating, even sometimes, and this is a message I try to get across to my math students all the time, even sometimes if they get the wrong answer. That's really important to us. And so our approach to feedback is to try to give the same quality of feedback and the same type of feedback that a great teacher would if they could sit down one-on-one next to every student every day and listen to their thinking, right? And so that's a high bar. So what it means is we're not giving huge chunks of long text of feedback. We're trying to use short chunks in student-friendly language. We're trying to praise what's going right in the student thinking, and then offer specific suggestions, or oftentimes in the form of questions, to prompt students to think deeper. And so if you haven't yet already read this feedback here on the right side, but you'll notice that the first 2 pieces are all about praising what I was doing right in my thinking. And then the last piece is just saying, hey, this is the total of 2 widths, but what should you do next to find the length of 1 width? Right? It's not giving away the strategy. It's really prompting students to rethink that step and promoting critical thinking. There's a lot more I could say here. We think that this is super valuable, obviously, for students' metacognition around grappling with concepts and explaining them, right? We know that leads to strong long-term retention. We also know that this is really powerful for students' oral language proficiency and oral language practice. And so we have a lot of schools right now who are trying to support a lot of students with really diverse needs and different language needs. And so they've turned to Snorkl as a tool to support them in doing that. It's a great opportunity for students to practice their oral language proficiency, and also allows students to record in more than 50 different languages and actually get feedback in all those languages as well. So I'm going to show you how to do that in just a moment here, but just know there's a lot of rich opportunities to support all students. And then I think the third thing that's really powerful about this is obviously not only do students benefit from getting to explain, but teachers are gathering so much more rich data and information about how their students are thinking. And we're using AI to make that meaningful. Students can listen to this feedback. They can use it right away to respond again. And over again, we hear from teachers how often they are sort of surprised and excited by how much their students do want to respond again, because our students want to show off what they know. They want to show that they're experts, and they want the support to get there. And Snorkl is really unique in providing that really immediate, really personalized support. The teacher side of this is making sense of these really rich artifacts to make them powerful for instruction. And so on the teacher side, you get to collect all these pieces of student work. You can review them. You can jump into individual pieces of student work, look at that feedback that students got. That feedback could be in their native language too, if you prefer. And then you can also look at insights from across the class. And so the Insights tab uses AI to analyze trends from across the entire class to show you what's happening at scale. And so I'll highlight for you some exemplar responses that you could use and leverage for further instruction. It will also share with you some trending errors and misconceptions of places where you might want to follow up with students further. So this is the basics of what Snorkl is and what it does. And so if you've used Snorkl before, it probably covered a lot of things that you already knew. I want to share a couple of things about how to get set up with a Snorkl account and how to create your Snorkl activities. And as I go, I'll try to throw in a couple of extra things around how to add co-teachers to your class, how to share assignments with other teachers, how to download your students' results and things like that, in case there's anything that maybe you haven't heard here before, but I want to make sure I can share with you. As I'm going here, feel free to drop questions in the chat. I know that down in the bottom right-hand corner, there's that little icon. If you haven't found it yet, it's that little icon with this circle, the square, the triangle. You click on that, you could click Q&A, and then you can go ahead and drop questions in the chat, and we will answer those here at the end. So if you are just getting started with Snorkl or you haven't used it before, one other thing I want to make sure I share is that you can use Snorkl for any subject or content area. So you can ask students to read a short passage and answer questions about the text. You could ask students to do some self-reflection about what they learned in class that day. You could ask students to analyze an image or a graph. There's a lot of versatility to how you use the tool, but it's a really rich tool for both student practice and for formative assessment. So if you've never used this before, I want to just show you a couple of basics about getting started. In Snorkl, you can create an account at snorkl.app, but in Snorkl, you create classes and assign activities to your classes. From your homepage, you can see the different classes. They sort of act as like folders where those assignments live. So if you've created a class before, you can open up that folder and you'll see the different assignments that you've assigned to that class. We have a library of pre-created assignment items and activities in Snorkl, and we are working really hard to continue to build this. We added a lot of content this summer. We have folks working on additional content right now to roll out this fall, and we're excited to share more content with you. Excuse me. But there's quite a bit of pre-created content in math and science. We're adding content to reading, ELA, and other subject areas as well, and working hard on that. Part of our strategy here is we're also making partnerships with great curriculum partners, which we're really excited about, because it means that we're not just throwing random content in here. We're really working hard to curate really great content with experts who professionally build content in the platform. So you're going to see more of that start to be released in the platform here over the next couple of weeks and just continue to grow over time. You can also create your own activities in Snorkl. And so in order to do that, you go to My Library, and you can click on that Create Activity button on the right-hand side. When you create an activity, we try to make this really simple, and there's just a couple of key steps. So it's really just a matter of giving it a title. I'm going to call this one Physics. Opening up that whiteboard where you can either type in a question, or you can actually drag and drop or copy and paste a question onto that whiteboard. What this means is if you've got your own curriculum, your own worksheets that you use, things that you've used in the past on other platforms, super simple, just copy and paste onto this whiteboard, and your Snorkl activity is going to be set up for your students. Once you've got that content on the whiteboard, there's an optional instructions box here. You can tell your students some extra things. Make sure to highlight your answer or whatever it is that you want to tell students. That's going to appear for students in the top right-hand corner. We encourage teachers to put the actual question on the whiteboard for two reasons. One, it's just visually easier for students to see it and interact with it. And the second is that our AI will actually see that whiteboard, and so we'll be able to see how students have interacted with the question. So if students have highlighted certain parts or circled things, the AI can see that, and it can be built into how the AI gives students feedback on their response. Once you've got that whiteboard set up, we're not done. There's one more really important step, which is setting up the AI, but we try to make that super simple to do. So when you scroll down, you'll notice there's this big purple button that says Enable and Autofill with AI. When you press that button, the AI will analyze what you just put on the screen, and it's going to identify what's the appropriate subject, what's the appropriate grade level, what's that question asking, including if there's any pictures, it's going to interpret the image, right? Here's the image description of what I put on that whiteboard. And then it's going to create an expected answer. And here the AI is doing its best attempt at solving and creating an answer key for this question. If it's an open-ended question, it's going to define criteria for success rather than just one specific answer. And it does quite well with this, I would say 99% of the time. But we really do encourage teachers to check it. Check this and make sure that this aligns with what you want the AI to give your students feedback on. Because this is going to act as sort of a guide or a template for how it gives all your students feedback. When you press Use and Edit, you'll notice that all those boxes are filled in for you. If everything is looking right, exactly how you want it, you can go ahead and press Assign. But if anything needs to be edited, maybe you talked about a certain concept, or you want certain vocabulary used, or you noticed that maybe the AI had trouble reading because it was really small, you can make those adjustments. And so you can actually use Snorkl for any assignment type, as long as you make sure you set up that feedback right here in this part of the process, so that it's going to give you great feedback every time. When your assignment's set up, you press that Assign button and you can assign it to your class. You can assign it to multiple classes at once in Snorkl. You can actually also select individual students from a class. And so if you click on that little edit tool there, you can actually select individual students to assign it to if you want to do some differentiation. When you click Next, you're going to be prompted with some questions around, do you want students to be able to collaborate in Snorkl? And so you can turn this on or off, but you can allow students to actually see each other's responses, either just the top responses or all responses. And you can toggle on and off whether or not you want students to be able to leave each other comments. You know, you have to think about your classroom dynamics and what you want to support, but there's some really rich opportunities here to allow students to interact with each other, give each other feedback, and support some community learning in the classroom as well. You'll notice my screen here has a special feature called Snorkl Coach. Snorkl Coach is a tool I'll tell you a little bit about then. We are currently testing it in a handful of classrooms. We're really excited to share more about that tool later, but I just want to show you here the basics right now. You assign that activity, it creates a share code that you can copy and paste, and you can post that on your LMS. You can share that with your students however you get students into activities or however you share links with them. If you click go to activity, that brings you to that activity dashboard, and here's where you'd see all that student work. This is a screen that we were seeing before with all my student work. And you'll notice that you can edit that activity from that top left corner there. You can edit anything about how that activity is set up. There's settings here where you can change whether or not students can collaborate and see one another's work. And then a couple other really useful features here. One is that this is where you find that share code again for your students. There is a big join code. If you want to have your students just sign to snorkl.app, they can just sign in and put in that join code to join that activity. There's also this create response button, and this is so powerful. This allows you as the teacher to actually create and record a response and test out that AI feedback. So, and we really encourage teachers to do this. Try out your activities before you give them to your students and see what that process is like. If for whatever reason the feedback's not what you want it to be around, you can always go back into edit. You can change how that feedback is set up. One thing that's really important to note is that this activity right now is assigned to this class. It's right here inside of my class. This is like a copy or an assigned version of the activity that I built back in my library. So here is that physics activity in my library. This acts as like a template that I can reuse, I can reassign, but changing it here does not change the assigned version. If I want to change the assigned version, I need to open that up and edit the assigned version, or I can go back, I could change the original, and then I could reassign it to that class. Here's a little extra, and I'll throw in a couple here if you are someone who's used Snorkl before. One of the really powerful ways that we see schools and districts using Snorkl right now is collaborating and sharing assignments with each other. And so if you created an assignment in Snorkl, if you click these three dots right here, there is the Share with Teachers button, and that will create a link for you that you can copy and paste to a Google Doc or to a Common Planning doc that when your colleague opens up, will allow them to add that activity to their Snorkl library. And so if you're a sixth grade social studies teacher and you've created an activity you want to share with the other sixth grade social studies teachers, you can copy that from your library. Again, that link is you can access through these three little dots right here, share with teachers, and then your colleagues can use that same activity. If you have a co-teacher in your class and you want to invite them to your class, the way to do that is you go to your class, and underneath the name of that class, there's a little button that says add, where you can add in the email address of a co-teacher and add them to that class. They do have to have signed into Snorkl at least once and have a Snorkl account, but that's easy. You can share with them the Snorkl link, they can sign in and you can add them to your class. They have then the same access and privileges that you as a teacher do. They can also view students' work. They can also review it, provide additional comments. They can edit the AI feedback and everything else. We are coming up quickly here to the close of our time. And so if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat there. Again, you can ask the questions. It's that little button in the corner where there's the triangle, the square, and the circle, and then look for the Q&A button and you can ask some questions there. I'll share just a couple of last things here before we go to some of those questions. The first is that if you are looking at an assignment, let me find mine. If you are looking at an assignment as a teacher, and if you ever, for whatever reason, would like to download that student's recording, in the top right-hand corner, there's a download button. That's visible to you. It's also visible to the students. So if you have students who are, maybe they're making a portfolio of their work someplace else, they can download those videos and upload them to their portfolio. As a teacher, you can also delete a student video if for whatever reason you need to delete a student video. On the student side, students, I know oftentimes teachers don't spend a whole lot of time looking at what the student view looks like. Students' views are organized in the same way in many ways as the teachers. They have their assignments are broken down by class. When they open up that class, they see their most recent assignments at the top. And then they also have a portfolio view where they can see a collection of their work over time. And this is something we're really excited to grow and expand. So there's going to be more ways to celebrate student work happening here as well. There's lots of things that we're really excited to be working on and sharing over the course of this fall. There's going to be a new progress view for teachers to view student progress across multiple assignments. We are adding in visibility to standards that items are tagged to. There's the Snorkl coach feature, as well as the different assignment type options, the still canvas and the audio recording only canvas options. All these things are things that we're currently testing, getting feedback on, and so we're excited to share more with you. I really appreciate you all joining us here. I want to take some time right now to answer some questions that have come up in the chat. And I'm going to invite Amanda here back on this screen as soon as I find the right button to press. There we go. And yes, happy to answer any questions that came up.
Hi, John. And hey everyone, thanks for joining us. One of the repeated questions that we've had in the chat is, does it support video? And is there plans to?
Say more, as in like a video playing on the whiteboard?
Can students, yeah, no, well, one, yeah, I would like to know that. Can a video play, but can students also, will they eventually be able to record video responses?
Like of their face?
Yes.
Yeah. Great question. We currently just do the whiteboard recording, so it can create a video of the whiteboard. We don't currently do video of the face for a couple of reasons. One, as being an AI tool, I think there's probably some extra caution and guard up around, do we want AI tools accessing, vision of students' faces? I think that raises some really interesting questions. So it's something that we've definitely considered, but I don't think we have current plans to pursue further. Of course, we're always open to the feedback that we get from folks as people are using it. And I know that Flip is a very beloved tool and has sort of shifted in how Microsoft uses and distributes it now. And so people are looking for an alternative to Flip. And Snorkl does many of the things that Flip does, but it's a little bit different in their structure that way.
Chris Evans also said no questions, but just a ton of thanks to you, that you've been awesome supporting him, and that they're about to roll it out to all of their teachers and students. Awesome. Do Snorkl Superstars receive access to unlimited activities they can make?
Snorkl Superstars who are active in our Superstar community do have unlimited access, yes. Yeah.
We had a question about the number of, or what is the limit of Snorkl activities you can make in the free version, and do you get full features? And I said yes. I said I thought it was 10. Monique, correct me. It is 20.
Yeah, it was 10 for a little while, and we actually increased it to 20. We want to make it accessible for folks to keep on using it. Yeah, so there's an activity limit. If you have one of the free teacher accounts, there's just an activity limit. Eventually, as we release some of these newer features around Snorkl Coach and some other of those more advanced features, some of those will also be part of the premium paid access. But right now, the difference is the activity limit.
And are there opportunities for Snorkl Superstars, or really anyone, to receive PD materials for staff and student training?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a school PD slide deck. We've got videos. Let me see if I can share that slide deck here in the chat, if it will let me.
And can they access that from the website? Is it under resources or?
Great question. We don't currently have it posted to the website, but we certainly could add it. If you receive the Snorkl emails, no judgment if you don't. I totally get it. There's a lot of emails that go out from a lot of folks all the time. But if you receive the Snorkl emails, the school PD slides are in those emails. Also, feel free to reach out to me. I'm at john@snorkl.app. If you are looking for slides or resources, happy to share more with you.
And then Monique answered this, but can students who are multilingual learners receive feedback in different languages? Which you might want to just share that real quick.
Yeah, I meant to share more about how to do that. Thanks for mentioning that, Monique. So if I'm currently looking here at a student account, what this looks like is on a student's account, they go up here to language settings, and they can choose a different language. And going forward, their feedback then will be in that language. We often, teachers can do the same thing from the teacher account. You can go here to language settings. We often get the request, like, can teachers force all their students to get language in a certain feedback in a certain language? It's something that we we will probably eventually add as an advanced feature. If for example, if you're a Spanish teacher and you want all your students to be receiving feedback in Spanish, we'll create that option in the future. But it's not currently out yet. Yeah.
And then we've got Jeffrey Beltran. Hi, Jeff. I see him in a lot of calls. Not a question, but really looking forward to Snorkl to be shared to current and future educators here in the Philippines. And then Joan asked another video question. And just to clarify, if a student recorded a video of a science phenomenon, they cannot upload that for Snorkl to explain what's happening in the video.
Great question. Yeah, so when students are creating a response, they can upload an image, but they can't post a video on their whiteboard. So they could upload an image of it. They could then record and explain what's happening in that phenomena, but it doesn't actually take their raw video footage and insert it into the player of Snorkl.
Okay. And that concluded all of our questions and kudos. Lots of love to you from a lot of other attendees in today's meeting. So,
well, huge thank you for everyone for joining us, and really appreciate getting a chance to share with y'all. If you have any questions or if there's anything else that we can do to support you, please feel free to reach out. Happy to share slides and other resources. I was going to post here, if you want to be in touch with us or give us any feedback, there's a quick survey I just posted there in the Q&A. Feel free to drop us a note in there or connect with me. My email is john@snorkl.app. And yeah, appreciate you being here. Hope that you enjoyed the rest of your Tuesday evening.
And I also posted a link to our Facebook group. So if you want to asynchronously connect and not do the formalities of email, feel free to join the group and just, post what you're doing, share your love of Snorkl, share your activities, and also, ask any questions you may have there.
That's great. Thanks, Amanda. Thank you, everyone. Have a great Tuesday evening.